Get ready. Go!
Ah, Lamborghini cars, I've missed ya. It's been about 3 years since I covered this game originally, and just like with Cruisin' USA and MRC, I wasn't too thrilled with how this video turned out. The major issue is that I rushed the script, and it definitely sounded like I was reading my words. I mean, I was, but you could hear me reading them, if that makes sense. It all sounded a bit too robotic and monotone, plus I tried adding a fake freakout in there, and the humor just didn't land. At all. Plus, I recorded not only this, but most of my earlier videos in the wrong aspect ratio, so they all look stretched to shit, and I want to fix this one. In any case, we're here once again so I can have my do-over. Hope you enjoy. The next stop on my crusade to find the most weird and obscure games I can, I think I've come across a real winner. Everyone's walked past this game in a pawn shop at one point or another and not purchased it. At first, you'd wonder why. I mean, maybe it was the barely legible ketchup and mustard stain logo? Well, come to think of it, the entire cartridge is an absolute eyesore, so probably not. In any case, Automobili Lamborghini was released in 1997 and developed by Titus France. Most critics of the day gave it a solid 7 to 8 out of 10, while aside from Next Generation, who gave it a solid 2 stars, stating, "It really needs a better sense of speed and more tension, or at least some unique element besides its dream car license to set it apart. Even at Nintendo's recently lowered prices, it's no steal." A critic at Electronic Gaming Monthly criticized the paper-thin gameplay, bland colors, and intolerably stupid computer opponents. On the flip side, GameSpot said, "The roads and scenery are beautifully rendered and blur by so fast. It's quite an assault on your equilibrium. The illusion of G-forces is undeniable, as is the sensation of just soaring over the track." Are we playing the same game here? I mean, is it me? Is there another Automobili Lamborghini I don't know about? A special edition maybe? A deluxe pre-order edition perhaps? No. This was way before all that bullshit. I mean, technically speaking, Lamborghini Cars is the spiritual successor of an SNES game called Lamborghini American Challenge, which itself was originally released as the third entry in an entirely different series called Crazy Cars. But what are we even talking about here? Crazy Cars? No, we're talking about Lamborghini cars, but not the vehicles themselves, the game. Anyway, let's get right into it, shall we? Does anyone remember Automobili Lamborghini?
Get ready.
There isn't a whole lot to say about this game, but to start, let's go over the vehicles, of which there are 8 in total. You're able to drive the Lamborghini Diablo and Countach right off the rip, and you can unlock the other 6 by completing the arcade series on varying difficulties. These cars are the Porsche 959, the Ferrari F50, the Ferrari Testarossa, the Dodge Viper, the McLaren F1, and the Bugatti EB110. And while we're on the topic, you know what's very vexing to me? The fact that, in a game literally called Lamborghini Cars, only 2 out of the 8 vehicles are actually made by the titular manufacturer. That's like going into a sex shop and all they got in stock are some assless chaps and a few old leathery gimp masks, but the rest of the store is wall-to-wall pool floaties and lava lamps or some shit. It's just false advertisement. I just wanted more Lamborghinis, and it's not like there was a shortage either. This game released in 1997, and according to my research, there were at least 10 unique models of Lamborghini released before this game came out, not including the 2 that are in the game itself, so there's really no excuse. And don't get me wrong, variety is the spice of life. I don't mind seeing a Dodge Viper or a Ford GT, maybe even a Ferrari, but, and call me crazy, the majority of the vehicles on offer should always be from the manufacturer whose name is on the cartridge, but that's just my opinion. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on how much you like this game, I was only able to unlock the Porsche due to 3 things. 1. The game is quite difficult. Unfairly difficult actually, but I'll explain more on that later. 2. The game doesn't save, or I just haven't figured out how, and cheats don't seem to work either. I've tried again and again to no avail. I don't condone cheating, but some B-roll of the other vehicles would have been nice. And finally, 3. The game is kinda boring. Well, that's an understatement. This game is incredibly boring. I found myself zoning out almost constantly during subsequent arcade series attempts, only to come back to and my car's doing donuts in the grass. There's no hook, there's no gimmick, it's just hold A and steer until you're done. To add insult to injury, the music is the same throughout all the races. Plus the engine sounds? Ugh, they'll irritate the hell out of you until they somehow eventually turn into a soothing lullaby. Seriously, they're like a siren's call, luring you to your death. Or at least luring you to a wasted afternoon. Sorry, I didn't mean to get so dramatic. But luckily for your sanity and mine, as well as preventing unwanted naps, I've muted the engines. Now, in most racing games of this era, difficulty is achieved by making your opponents faster or making them perfect racers, and that's okay. But that's not really the case with Automobili Lamborghini. The difficulty in this game is all about the AI being super dumb. They do some seriously weird things. Sometimes they're untouchable. From start to finish, all you see are distant taillights. Other times, they straight up run you off the road. Other times, they just forget to turn, taking themselves out of the race. You just never know what you're gonna get. Often, the AI would just ram into me, sending me flying. And if I ram them back, I still go flying. It's like a damn pinball machine. You just bounce around. So don't even attempt to race dirty, because the other racers aren't driving supercars like you are. They're driving tanks that just look like supercars. Lamborghini cars boast 6 incredible and not at all boring as sin tracks. They range from the classic racetrack to sun-drenched coastlines and smoggy industrial parks. Sounds great, right? Well, they would be if they weren't all completely awful. Now, I'm not one to harp on graphics or anything, but if you're at a party, okay, let's just put it this way. If you're at a party, right, with all the other cool racetracks, you know, Rainbow Road is there chatting with Koopa Troopa Beach, Hot Top Volcano is doing a keg stand with Boo's Boardwalk holding his legs up, you know, everyone's just vibing. Then these tracks just show up plastered and uninvited. They kick the door open and walk in. One pukes in the flower pot while the others start dancing with the coat rack. Then they drunkenly stumble over to you and ask, "Do you think I'm pretty?" And you would, of course, be taken back. Yuck, right? But you'd look the tracks up and down and see there are no stage hazards or jumps anywhere, so you know they're boring. Then you'd spot the muddy, low-res models, and you'd realize these tracks were probably prematurely birthed. You'd also notice all the ridiculously useless shortcuts, so the creators were most likely drunk while making them. But, and this is a big but, they have a color palette so bland and washed out, your super religious parents would definitely approve. From afar. And then you'd reply in the only appropriate way by saying, "I'm sure you have a nice personality." Compare these to Cruisin' USA's levels. Now, as much as I loved Cruisin' USA, the levels are pretty simple. They're not really groundbreaking. But in that game, you had traffic, stage hazards, obstacles, jumps, and most importantly, the game had buckets and buckets of personality. Here, it's just a boring loop of bland, lifeless track. It's almost like they were banking solely on the Lamborghini name to sell the game. One thing I do find kinda cool is that your tires can wear out, prompting a pit stop. It's a neat little mini game, and I honestly wasn't expecting anything like this to be in the game, but here it is. Unfortunately, after a few races, it gets very redundant and monotonous. Not to mention it throws any lead you may have had. So for science, I went into a few races with the intention of deliberately not fixing my tires. And I noticed that it doesn't really make a huge difference anyway. You kinda just slide a bit more on those tighter turns. I say don't even bother with it. And side note, once you do start sliding, don't even try to drift back and recover all smooth, because drifting is apparently too sophisticated for this game and you'll just spin out. But honestly, if you let go of the gas for a second on those sharp turns, it prevents you from sliding at all, in turn making the pit stop game even more useless. This is also one of those arcade-style racing games that's really stingy with the time between checkpoints. And this game is perhaps a little too stingy. Look at this bullshit. I'm in first, right? With a considerable lead, and yet I'm barely keeping time. 4 checkpoints in a row, I've had to roll into the gate just to keep going. because if you run out of time, they just shut your gas off for some reason. Anyway, I don't even know how that's possible. To be in first but have no time, it's not like I've been messing around at all, it's just open road. I've actually had decent lap times this race. Look, I got game over 20 feet from the finish line. What the shit is that? Time should never be an issue when you're in first place, and this isn't a one-off either. In my original video covering this game, the same thing happened, only I actually finished. Man, what a chore that game was. Now I see exactly why there's a copy of this game in every pawn shop I've ever been in. I should start buying them all up. They only go for about $2 a pop. I don't know, maybe I'll make a coffee table or an end table out of them or something. Maybe a lamp. Anyway, I did not remember this game before my original video, and now that I'm having memories of it, I feel violated. And as I stated earlier, there's not a whole lot to say. This game doesn't have a whole lot of content, and it's just a waste of time. But what about you guys? Did you remember Automobili Lamborghini? Or Lamborghini cars? If so, I'm sorry to hear that. Though we do have a support group going, comment for details. As for me, I'm out. I'm gonna go grab some bottles of dish soap and dump them in the Agricultural Society's fountain, just for fun. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.
That's the lap record.